Hello, lovelies. Welcome to the Fat Joy podcast, where we talk each week about how to flourish in an anti-fat world. I'm Sophia Apostol, a fat professional coach who loves talking to other fat people about what it's like to live within oppressive systems that marginalize our bodies, and how we still dare to have the audacity and courage to reach towards our collective liberation and embrace our joy. Please know this is an adult content podcast, so there will be swears, we will be talking about harms we've experienced, and we will be rebelling against weight stigma, diet culture, fat phobia, ableism, racism, etc. You can get more Fat Joy goodness, including how you can support the podcast, through my newsletter at fatjoy.substack.com. And for episode transcripts, book reviews, and show notes, head to the Fat Joy website at fatjoy.life. I am so glad you're here. Enjoy this episode. Hello, lovelies. Welcome back to the Fat Joy podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Apostol, and I have Leah V here with me today. Hi, Leah V.
Hey.
I think I mentioned this when we spoke before we had our pre-recording call, but I've been following you for so long on the socials and always just enjoyed your boldness and your unapologetic way of being in your body, and also your fashion sense. I love your fashion. And I'm really a little starstruck. I'm so happy to be talking to you. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to dig into the nonsense and shenanigans that is about to ensue.
Oh my God, I love it. Nonsense and shenanigans. Yay. Well, why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So Leah V here from Detroit. People think I'm from LA or New York, and I'm like, we rep where we're from, and we're from Detroit. Don't play with it. Don't play with it. So yeah, I'm from Detroit. Live in New York right now. Been here for 4 years. Oh my God, I'm so multifaceted, multi-hyphenate, multifaceted. It's wow, I do so many things. But I like to call myself an inclusive content creator. Because everything that I do is kind of under that umbrella. So we have the plus size modeling, we have the influencing, I'm an author, I guess stylist, because I style all my shoots from head to toe, including the hijab, the makeup, the direction, location, all of that. So I do so many things, but I want to be known as a creative, a fat Black Muslim creative. That's, my little tagline.
I love it. And I think I know the answer to this, but is that an unusual thing to be known for?
Yeah. I started way back when, kind of fell into modeling. People think that I just orchestrated this thing, and I did not. I kind of fell into modeling. Because, I'm 36 now. So back during America's Next Top Model, nobody on the show looked like me. They were definitely not short. They were definitely not proportionate. They were proportionate. They, didn't wear hijab. If you were under 5'8", you can get the fuck on. That's it. So I remember being very much so obsessed with thin models and tried to, basically make my body look like theirs, now I know, but knowing not right now that I would never ever look like them without much plastic surgery, bone lengthening, and religion change. I would have to literally change my entire lifestyle around to look like, a supermodel. And so, being fat, Black, and Muslim, model artist is something that's definitely not heard of. I think I was one of the first in America, at least. I've been kind of riding that wave ever since and trying to figure out where that's going, because we kind of hit a little bit of a snag, which we'll talk about, I'm assuming.
Yes. I'm going to write down snag. I love talking about snags. I love talking about the things that get in our way. It's so real, right? Because we all face obstacles and shit that happens that we didn't expect. And I think the human part is like, and so now what do we do? So we'll totally talk about that. I do want to ask about your relationship to the word fat. You have it so boldly in everything you do. I am fat, Black, and Muslim. So talk about the fat part. Because like you said, you spent years wanting to emulate the thin models that America's Next Top Model. God, I totally forgot. I was obsessed with that show. And you just brought it all back to me. I'm like, oh yeah, right. I used to like watch it with my friends. So what's the fat part? What's your relationship been with the word fat? How has that changed?
Yeah, I mean, like, most of our stories, no matter where you came from in the world, the word fat is like such a hot topic. And so I remember one time in particular, I was like maybe 18, 17, something like that. And I was going at it head to head with not my brother-in-law at the time, but was going to be my brother-in-law at some point, some years later. So we were arguing and I was a sassy bitch. Like I was a sassy bitch back in the day. I was a menace to society back in the day when I was younger. I didn't give a fuck about nothing, no one, what you had to say. I'm doing me. So I remember we were in the store and we were just being ridiculous and young and stupid in a store, going in on each other. Like we're like nose to nose, right? Talking shit. And I'm winning. And then he pulls out the golden sword. You're nothing but a fat bitch in front of everybody. And I was like, oh, and like I had no rebuttal. Yeah, I was so upset. I was so hurt. I was like, oh, that's the golden sword. Like for every person who is like fat, or not even fat, even people who are not fat, it hurts their feelings. So at that point, it made me crumble and it made me feel small and it stopped me in my tracks. And so fast forward, I started looking into words that I wanted to reclaim.
And fast forward how many years now? Like how far forward are we going?
Yeah, it had to be like maybe 7, 8, something like that. Definitely like during the end of my marriage, I would think. I think it's somewhere around that time. It was some years. And I was like, because I'm a writer, I have a master's degree in creative writing and an MFA in publishing. So like I write books, I know the words and stuff and the meanings. And so I was looking to reclaim some words that hurt me. One of them was fat. Another one was, angry Black woman. That really hurt my feelings. And I tried, not to be that stereotype. And so those are the two terms that I'm like, okay, like how does it feel to really put those terms up front and extract all the hurt, pain, trauma, evilness, darkness from this word? And what does it feel like when you reclaim it in your own way? And that when someone uses it against you, you never feel small, belittled, crumbled again. And at that point, I started to make my tag fat, Black, and Muslim as fuck and have stuck with it ever since. And I get people who cringe when they hear the word. They're like, no, that's not you. You are not fat. Okay, so then I have to sit there and educate when they cringe. And are so shocked I would ever call myself that nasty, nasty word. And I'm just like, ma'am, can we calm down? Just like you are skinny, I am fat. And just like he is tall, I am short. These are all descriptors. They're all adjectives. And they weigh as much as we want them to weigh.
I love that process of reclamation, like of intentionally finding the words that have hurt, cut the deepest, and been like, no, I'm actually, this is my question. I'm curious about your process, because was it, I'm going to give them a new definition, or I'm going to find a way to accept this word in a way that makes sense for me? Like, how did you do that? Like, if you were going to teach this to people listening, how would you have them do this?
I mean, I think like it all comes down to community and education, right? I am from the Midwest. So, in the Midwest, back in the day, I don't know about now, but fat women did not dress up. We didn't have access. We weren't being flown out. We weren't, bagging the hot guys with the money. We weren't getting high pay positions. We were secondary citizens and still get treated like that in a lot of places. And so I think that with the word, I started to come across it a little bit on social media. So at this time, it was Tumblr and Instagram. And I started seeing like plus size and body positive and stuff like that on Tumblr. And then, of course, like Instagram started back in 2012. So I was on there and I stumbled upon a community of people who were plus size and unapologetic. So I started to build the community from that. And then also the queer community as well, because they had a lot of insight that I never had access to. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is some shit I never even, wait a minute, you can be yourself and be happy about it and no one can tell you shit about shit. Okay, I want to be with the queers. So I started to delve into like the fat communities that ones will have me because some of them bitches are fake. And the queer community that were very open to having me just because I'm ridiculous and loud and flamboyant. And they started to teach me that it was okay to be in my body. And so from there, I kind of extracted, like, yeah, some people are using plus size. And that was like plus size section. So I'm like, okay, what if we took it a step further and then we took the other one, which is fat, which is like the deeper one above, like below plus size. And yeah, it basically, yeah, I don't know how to like explain it all the way, but I just feel like that word became so empowering to me. It was like the complete opposite. Once I was just like, yeah, you are fat and you're fat and fabulous. You're fat and educated. You're fat and nice. You're fat and bitchy. You're fat and picky. Like you're fat and all these things. And that's fine. And it's okay.
Right. Instead of you're this, but you're fat. So it became like an and instead of an or a but. Yeah. Oh, that's so, I mean, I feel the power in what you're saying. Like it's so empowering to be able to do that. And yeah, I had a similar journey. So I really relate to what you're saying, Leah V. So you started reclaiming the word. You started saying you were fat, Black, and Muslim as fuck. And then what happened? Where'd you go from there?
Well, I was married at the time. 10-10, don't recommend.
I mean, I've been twice divorced, so I hear you.
Not recommending at all. People are like, oh my God, marriage. I need to. I must. Like, please no, please don't. Because you're saving yourself a lot of just shenanigans and mischief. So 10-10 don't recommend. And definitely don't recommend when you're 19, which has happened to me. So I got married super duper early because I thought that was the religious thing to do. And that backfired. But yeah, I was trying to find myself and find my body and stuff like that in a marriage that wasn't so open and body positive, and in a community that was neither of those things as well. So it was really hard for me to go through that journey of like, okay, I'm trying to find myself here, but people keep telling me to like not and just step in line.
Yeah. They kept trying to curtail you. Is that what it was? Like stop being so XYZ.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just like, as a Black Muslim American, like you have the medical field and like white supremacy and patriarchy, but then you go a step down and now your own community is doing it too. And you're like, wow, so I just can't fucking live. And so it was very hard for me. I kept bouncing back and forth, teetering with like, maybe I should just step in line and lose weight and try to be a good Muslim wife and versus I kind of want to do this because it feels right to me. And so, yeah, once the divorce was finalized, I ended up losing a shit ton of weight actually, just from depression and just not having any money for groceries. So that happened. And I was still a part of the body positive movement. But one thing, when that did happen, people were kind of noticing the shift of me losing weight and stuff like that. And were like, oh yeah, I can see you're smaller. And like, I never was like, oh yes, I'm smaller now. Because I knew I knew that as like a fat influencer, that's not what I'm here to push. I'm here for enjoying the life and the body you have right now. So even though I was losing weight from depression and not having money, people make comments. I'm like, please don't. because I'm going through something right now and that's not appropriate. So I still maintain the fat, black, and Muslim as fuck punchline. And it just kind of blew up and people were like, well, this is a mixture. So I'm fucking with it. And I started getting flown out to do speaking engagements at colleges, and Yahoo and Buzzfeed and, all these magazines are to like take notice because like they'd never seen that before. So
yeah. And what were you speaking about? Were you speaking about the intersections of those identities or like something else? Like what were you?
Yeah. So I got my master's like before I got divorced. Well, actually I got both of them before I got divorced, actually. So when I got divorced, I was very educated, but just didn't have any income. And so my first speaking engagement happened, again, randomly, when one of my videos, Black Muslim Girl Dance, went semi-viral. And then a doctor from the University of Ottawa in like women's studies, contacted me. She's like, I just saw your video like in Canada and we want to fly you in to talk about your intersections of being a fat Black Muslim from Detroit. And we'd love to have you. And that was my first speaking engagement. And I was so scared, didn't know what to say. And I kind of fell into that. And people were like, oh, like, why don't you do speaking engagements? And I'm like, I don't think I have the accolades for that. And they're like, you have 2 masters and you're a writer. And I'm like, yes. So then I started speaking at more colleges after falling into that gig.
Oh, amazing. What was that like, speaking to college and university students? Like, how did that impact you?
And it was interesting because the first one was actually a pretty big deal. It was like scholars, doctors, academics in that room, a couple students, but it was like people who were actually like, I don't know, important in Canada, in Ottawa. And I'm like, okay. So everyone knows that I have IBS. And my IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, it flares up and I'm nervous. Yeah. So it flares up when I'm nervous. Sometimes it flares up for no reason. But mostly if I'm nervous, because all my nerves are in my stomach. So I had to poop like, I think 5 times before getting on stage. And I told the girl, can you tell me the exact minute I'm going on stage? And she's like, we're going to try because you have other speakers. I'm like, listen very carefully. Can you tell me like at least like 2 minutes? Because I have IBS and I'm scared. And these people are important. This is my first time on stage. And as soon as I got out the bathroom, why wash my hands? I heard, okay, next is Leah V. And from the bathroom, I just run on stage like, hi, my name is Leah V. And it was great. But like, I love speaking at universities. I think that speaking, like whether it's my book tour or whether it's like to students or staff or academics or people just on the street corner, I feel like you get more of you give more of an impact that you can't get through social media. To see someone's face as you're speaking to them or have them ask questions about something that what they thought was interesting in your life, I think that is so amazing. I've even cried with like people before in audiences before because I'm clearly a baby bitch. I'm a thug, but I'm a baby bitch, and I will cry for no reason at all. And so I had this one girl, I did something before COVID, I think 2018, and this little thing, hijabi with a small face, big glasses, engulfed in a hijab, and just started crying. She's just like, I just never seen anybody like you before, and I feel so ugly. I was like,
oh my God, you're making me cry right now.
I know. And so it's just so amazing, to have that type of impact for people. So yeah.
Yeah. I love what she said. You're showing me something I've never seen before. Oh my God. That's such a gift. And then from there is when you went into modeling?
No. So I've been modeling before the speaking engagement. I've been modeling back since I started the blog. So I would say 2012. So I was basically doing, what happened was, again, me falling into it. I used to obsess over, there's the Style Network. And that was back in the day when they used to have the Style Network. It was 24/7 thin white women on the catwalk and fashion shows. And so I would obsess over this, and I would like go in the mirror, practice my smile, practice my angles, practice catwalking. Like I would be doing this just as a child, just for just absolutely no reason. So in the midst of me practicing this, I actually got really good. And people were like, oh my God, you're so photogenic. And I would tell them to stop lying to me because I had body dysmorphia. So although I was practicing, I still felt extremely ugly, extremely big. Don't look at me. I'm not the person you think I am. I'm not cute. I'm not pretty. So stop. So that went on for years. And then I was in another eating disorder phase. So I lost a lot of weight, like I think 70 or 80 pounds. So I was extremely small. And I was like, okay, well, I want to like start, I guess, modeling and blogging. So people start to be like, yo, you're like Muslim, you're curvy, like you're photogenic. Would you want to shoot with me? So all these like local Detroit photographers, like the top ones in Detroit would be like, do you want to shoot like free of charge? I just want to shoot you. And I started to build a portfolio literally by photographers lending their time and expertise and editing skills for me free of charge. And I always tell people I would never be here if I did not have like local photographers give me a chance. And a lot of them had never shot a fat person, had never shot a Muslim before. I was their first in their portfolio. And they literally built my portfolio so that people in New York would look at it and be like, oh, wow, she can actually model. So I always give up to photographers because they honestly started my career and gave me the confidence I needed to work with New York photographers. So, yeah.
Wow. And you describe yourself as a hijabi model. So do you want to share with that, like, what is that for people who may not know?
Yeah. So I used to be more of a hijabi back in the day. So usually when you see someone who's a hijabi or niqabi, which means you cover your face, whether it's half face or whole face, that's niqabi. Hijabi usually means you cover your hair, and then you are modest in your dress, right? And so for different cultures, it means different things, of course. Like I'm a little bit more lax on my modesty. So you'll see me in bodysuits, and some tight ass shit, my titties may or may not be out, but I do practice some sort of modesty. So yeah, basically hijabi model is modest. Like you won't see them probably in shorts or like tank tops or bikini sets. And they're usually going to cover their hair. Usually that's like the hijabi modesty. But again, I'm not the poster child for that because I've had Muslims tell me that I am doing it wrong. So I don't usually like necessarily call myself a hijabi, but I am technically. But, it's basically a modesty thing and the covering of the hair.
Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, so interesting. And it's very interesting to me because that feels a little oppositional to what we typically think of when we think of models who are often showcasing all parts of themselves. So was that a challenge to get into the industry because of that? Or what was that?
1,000%. I've had people on set tell me to remove my hijab. What is that on your head? Literally, I've come in as a hijabi model and they're like, yeah, so what is that? And I'm like, so you guys don't know that you hired a hijabi model? Okay. I've had to bring clothes on set because they wanted to put me in short sets and bikini tops. And I'm just like, okay, so you guys understand the part of hijabi means that you have some type of modesty standards. And I had to literally like fight my way through gigs and educate directors and stylists on what it is. And now that I'm OG in the modeling industry and I've worked with all the major brands, they already know, don't fuck around when I come on set. Don't play with me. Don't ask me stupid ass questions. But before, when I was a baby hijabi model, I was like, I'm just happy to be here. Now I'm just like, if a bitch don't have the shit that I need on set, I'm fucking walking off. So it's just like very much so giving, share on set, Beyonce, Rihanna, whatever, Nicki, because like, I'm not playing with y'all. Like you should be educated enough to know what a hijabi model is. If you didn't have the things that we needed to get this right, then do not fucking hire me. And so a lot of them now know, and they're very educated in what I can do, what I can't do, my parameters. And so we're good to go now. But there is that one thing as a plus size model that's still happens is that they don't have your correct size. So a lot of times I come on set and they don't have my correct size. So they're still doing that. And I'm like, okay, y'all know I'm bigums. Don't play with me. I cannot squeeze into no 12, 14.
So what do you do in that moment? Like if the clothes don't fit, the clothes don't fit. Like what do you do?
I mean, I've had to squeeze into things. Unfortunately, I've had to have backs cut out of things, arms cut out of things, too small denims meshed into one big denim. Like I've had like a lot of you guys be like, oh, Leah V so cute in this outfit. And I'm like, look at the back of it and see how massacred.
It's like a corset in the back.
Oh yeah, it's fucked up. I can't move, but I make that shit look cute. Usually I just can't move. And they're just like, oh, do this. I'm like, if I move my arm, all this shit is gonna pop off. So get the fucking shot and suck my dick. So
well, like they must have your measurements, right? Like, so what do you think is I'm just going to ask you, what do you think the problem is?
Well, it's thin stylists that don't know how to do anything. But get the job on a plus size set. That's why I'm just like, it's just a thin mediocrity for me. And I don't like to go off on thin people or straight size people because, they're good people and stuff. And there's a lot of fat allies out there who are thin and straight size and power to them. But the other ones, your cousins, wow. So they just mediocre at best. And it's like, if you cannot style a plus size body, if you don't know the stores that you get, we only have 5 stores. Listen, plus size people have literally 5 stores. It's not rocket science. Okay. There's measurements. There's Google articles. There's other plus size people that would tell you happily where to shop for a fat bitch. Because you choose not to and you think that a bitch can squeeze into a size 12 and she's a 26, that's ludicrous and thin mediocrity. That's all I can say about that.
Oh, I mean, I feel like whoever is in charge of the shoot, like if that was me, I would like fire the stylist. I'd be like, look, you knew all this information. You now have cost me time and money and I've had to rip up clothes and like I'd be furious if I was in charge of the shoot.
Mm-hmm. The only one that I've been on set that actually had was pretty size inclusive is Universal Standard, because they go up to a 40. So usually they will have. I've never been on set with them. I worked with them a couple times, and yeah, their shit we never had to rip up jeans or like add stuff. Their stuff just fits. They have all the sizes. Now the other ones sometimes is a little questionable, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I have this in my notes, and I'm trying to remember what it connects to. But I wrote down black sheep in the industry. Do you want to refresh my mind what that was that we talked about? Because now I forget.
Yeah, so I was telling you how I started a podcast because I was upset about the industry and how they treated me or have been treating me for the last since 2021, and I
like all the stuff you just said or different stuff.
Like all the stuff I just said, and also just like how they just will be like, okay, she's fat, black, and Muslim. We want her because she hits all the points. But then when you get your campaigns, like, oh, we work with Leah V. We had her in a campaign. Now we're done. So now back to the strong job bitches.
Oh, the tokenism piece.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
so it's hurtful because I had a breakdown when I had to drop one agency because they just would not cast or book me. And I told them, I talked to the CEO, I was like, I don't feel like you guys champion diversity. Like there's no one on your roster who looks like me and you just don't give a fuck. Literally the CEO, because something happened. And I was like, I go, I'm a Black Karen. So I go to the top of the tier for my grievances. I don't know. And he's like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, okay, you guys have 30 days to figure some shit out or I will be dropping this agency. 30 days passed, no change. I was like, I don't want to be with you guys anymore. And then my London agency dropped me 6 months in, didn't even give me a chance to do anything. Again, the only fat Black Muslim girl on their roster. And I had a breakdown because I'm like, I worked really hard to get to this point and this is my income. I don't have a plan B. Like I want to be booked like the girls with the wavy hair and the white moms and the size 10s who are being padded. Like I'm truly plus size. They are not. And I can model just as good as they can. I've modeled with the top plus girls and I've held my own. So I was trying to have to improve myself. So yeah, I was angry and I started talking shit about everybody on my podcast, like because I was upset. So I'll be the fucking black sheep. I don't care anymore. If I never get booked again, I really don't give a fuck at this point.
Yeah. And what was the purpose of that was to, I imagine, maybe make yourself feel a little better, but also to shed light on the system and. Hello, lovely Fat Joy friend. Sophia here, and I have a request. Can you please subscribe to this podcast? And if you've already subscribed, can you please give me a 5-star rating? And if you've done that, could you please write a review of the podcast? I know, that's a lot of asks, but these actions help increase the profile of Fat Joy, which allows me to keep producing it. I'm so grateful the Fat Joy podcast is one of the top 2.5% most popular shows out of the over 3 million podcasts globally. Totally amazing. And let's bring even more Fat Joy into the world by getting into the top 1%. So when you subscribe, rate, and review, you're helping do that. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know, a lot of plus size, I think a lot of consumers don't understand like who they are buying from and how much their buying power and their social media power matters. I feel like a lot of fat people, let's not even consumers, that's a whole different subject, but fat consumers and plus size consumers, marginalized consumers, they don't understand how much power they have to change and turn these companies around. We've seen it before with like people getting doxxed and companies getting doxxed because like, okay, what you're not going to do is do that. So do better or we're not fucking with you anymore. And they're like, oh, let me do a size 30, like because you're playing games and now you think it's funny and you think we're a fucking joke. And I just think that the industry has kind of given up like across the board on like size rights, fat acceptance. I feel like we were tokens. A lot of the dark skin models, a lot of the models with natural hair, a lot of the super plus models are not getting any work because they used us for their campaigns during COVID. And now they're like, oh no, we're going back to the size 8s and the 10s with, with the wavy hair and the white models who are kind of sort of got a little chin. We want them. We don't want you fatties. You real fatties. And so, yeah, I was like, I'm going to educate. And if 2 people listen to it, great. If more, great. But I'm going to talk my shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Leah V, this is amazing. And I actually recorded with Andrea Kelly yesterday, who created a company called Make Plus Equal, because she has been in the specifically outdoor apparel, but like clothing, fashion industry for 20 plus years, fighting to all the steps of the inner sanctum of these companies to like get plus size. Truly inclusive, like beyond a fake 3X, which is really just an XL done. And like, it just, the resistance, the inability for companies to feel like they're taking a huge risk and they're not willing to do it. And even though we are the majority, 69% of people are plus size, so we're the norm. And yet it's still not there. So I love that you were like, fuck this, I'm spilling the tea. Here's what I want to know. And I think it's just a fire that burns inside of you, but like the courage that takes, the emotional labor that takes, the toll, the stress that takes is immense. How did you hold all that? Like, what was the cost to you of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think because I had gone through so much like body dysmorphia, gaining weight, which is like a no-no, even the plus size industry. I was like, this weight is probably here to stay. And just being like, okay, getting beat out by girls who are 5'10" proportionate sizes, it started to hit my emotional, it started to hit my physical, it started to hit like just my mental. And I was like, okay, you're not good enough. And I felt myself regressing back to the baby Leah that I was before, where I was like, no, I'm not photogenic. No, I'm ugly. Please don't, no pictures. So for a minute, I didn't do any photo shoots or anything like that. Cause I'm like, I don't feel good. I don't look good. And it's backed up by what these companies and brands are saying. So what's the point of trying? And I think at some point I was like, you've probably ran your course in this industry. Like, you are 36, I'm considered old in the industry, especially in modeling. Like, I'm shocked that I even did as much as I did in my 30s, because most of the models, plus size models, are definitely young in their 20s, and younger, newer, fresher, TikTok, that they want all that. And so at some point I was like, you know what, you've done amazing things in this industry. Like, you've done Athleta and Old Navy and Target, Milk Makeup, Amazon. Like, you work with major brands over your amazing career, and you will be in history books one day. They're not going to give you your flowers now, but best believe when I talk about plus size, Black, Muslim, American, unconventional, like, you're going to be in those textbooks. And so you need to bow out, not gracefully, but very ridiculously and loudly with your shenanigans, and understand that they're probably never going to hire you. Yeah. And they're never going to hire you. Ooh, they're never going to hire you again. So, it's fine. Because, like, there are so many other things that I can do. And so I'm a fucking writer. Like, I'm doing 5 classes, and I want to do scripts, and I'm going to TV and film. And so, yeah, like, fuck that. Like, you don't have to stay in somewhere that people don't want you. You know what I mean? It's just like, I want to be somewhere that people want me and celebrate my body and celebrate my differences. And when I say something creative, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I don't want to be like, oh no, I'm sorry, you're too fat. Sorry, we want this because you're too big. Okay, well then fuck it then. So let me go somewhere else where they're gonna like do it. And I hope that my courage gives the other girlies who are battling the plus size industry and fashion industry, I hope they have the same courage that I had 3, 5, 10 years ago to battle this. But I think I'm going to have to bow out because, I've run my course, but I do hope there's a new generation of bitches who are like, fuck this shit. We want super plus. We want size 30 plus. We want this. And I have all of the hope and excitement that they're going to rip this shit apart.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. And thank you for describing what sounds to me, you didn't call it this, but to me, it sounds like a grief process. Like, you had to grieve the loss of this feeling of being excluded intentionally, and then the letting go and acceptance and moving into, moving forward in your life. Yeah, man, that's shitty. It's hard. I mean, I can just imagine.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy, but I'm like, when I don't get gigs, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I wasn't expecting it anyway. So I'm doing other things right now that I'm excited about. So
one of the things that you do is you are a writer and you've written a bunch of books. Can you tell us about your books that you've written?
So the first book I wrote in 2019, well, I didn't write it in 2019. It was published in 2019. That book was during the time I told you that I lost a bunch of weight and I got divorced. So that memoir was written during that time where I didn't have any prospects for life and was like, I need to get everything off my chest about my mentally ill mother that kind of forced religion on us, my father who was just an evil person, my ex who left me with nothing for a bitch in Australia, and just white people and fat phobic people and just like Black Muslims who always tried to like tell me that I was too much and I was doing too much. So I was like, let me write a book about that. Not a book, but it was like I was writing essays. They were essays about each part of my life where people affected me and it stuck with me or traumatized me, or even in moments that were triumphant moments where I thought I would never be in that position. I just wrote and cried and wrote and took naps and cried and wrote, took naps. And so by the time I had a whole book and I put it away because I wasn't ready to face what people would say about me if they knew the truth about some of the stories and some of the stuff I've went through or some of the things I've done. So I was like, I'm going to put it away and I'm going to make a prayer. I pray sometimes. I was like, you know what, Creator, God, Allah, whatever. I was like, if you want me to pursue getting this book published, I need a sign from you. And then I put it away. Of course, that sign came when I won the Gilda Award for my abortion story when I was 19. And I was like, all right, I see you. And then
So you had obviously submitted that story to a contest or something? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so the essay was written already. I think the essay was written, I feel like I might have wrote it I wrote that for the contest, actually. Yeah. It's actually the first story that's in my memoir. And so, because I wanted to write about something that was like so deeply disturbing, something that I've kept a secret for over a decade, and something that I needed to let go. And so that was what we wrote about. And it ended up winning me a Gilder Award in nonfiction, creative nonfiction. And I was like, that's my sign. I was like, 2 weeks later, I went to LA just to network with people because I won some money with it. Bought a Spirit airline ticket to LA to network with some people, came back. I was like, all right, let's find an agent. And then within 48 hours, I had 8, 9, 10 agents being like, we want to represent you in your book. The rest is history. So
that's amazing. Wow. I want to go back to the abortion story essay that you wrote and shared. I mean, so I don't know if you know this, but I'm a creative writing coach for a studio. And so I work with a lot of people writing memoir, and often people who are drawn to write memoir, writing about like really hard shit that's happened in their lives. And one of the biggest challenges is what you've already named, which is, what are other people going to think about the shit that I'm writing that no one knows? So what was it like to like take that abortion story, which sounds like it was a bit of a secret, and just release it into the world and just trust? How was that for you? It's a big deal.
I think that, so I had therapy about it before. We touched on it in therapy, and I could not say the word without crying. And so I had already done a little bit of the work because my therapist knew. I think 2 of my closest friends knew, nobody else. And they kind of sort of knew, but it was very unspoken because, remind you, we're all Muslim. So that's not something that is like, they never spoke about it. I think I went to their house afterwards and just cried with them, but it was never anything spoken. The first time I talked about somebody was the therapist, and we talked about it, and I was like, okay, when I can say it without crying, I think that will be a good moment for us. And then when I wrote the essay, I don't know, I just felt like being super vulnerable at that moment. It was like, whatever people are going to think about me is what they're going to think about me, but I have to get the story out. It's happening. And whatever comes with it, I have to deal with it. And so I guess it was like a little bit of a brave moment for me, because I'm like, we're just going to do it, and whatever happens is what happens. But people really resonated with it.
That's the thing.
People were going to. I thought it was something that was stupid or keep it to myself. And I'm like, no, this is a part of my story. And I think that's to be told. So
absolutely. Yeah. And don't you find, because I have a very similar story. I also worked through my feelings with therapy, and then worked with a storytelling coach to create my story as a verbal story that I kind of orated at a storytelling event in front of like 250 people. So it was like, I was like shaking. I was like, oh my God. And it was my abortion story as well. And don't you find that when you do that like scary, brave thing, that it's like, it ends up being so expansive, because then the next thing you're like, okay, this is another scary thing, but you know what? I just did that last scary thing. Like, it just opens the door to you being even more brave and more expansive.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because I feel like it only takes like 1 or 2 times doing some very scary shit to lead to more scary shit that ultimately ends in amazing experiences. And so now people know me as like very adventurous and doing stuff that fat people don't do, shouldn't do, are doing. And so I'm like, yeah, like I remember going to Ghana, and I was like, I want to get on the back of a motorcycle in Ghana, and I want to do that. And I randomly met these two guys outside of a restaurant. And mind you, I'm a solo traveler, so I'm by myself. And they were just chilling. And one of the guys had Crocs on. I'm a little bit of a flirt. So one of the guys had Crocs on. I was like, I had Crocs on too. I was like, ooh, Crocs twins. And then he was like, ooh. And then one of his friends had a motorcycle. I was like, oh, can I get on the back of it? He was like, what? I'm like, can I get on the back of your motorcycle? He was like, yeah, let's do it tomorrow. I was like, bet. I was like, give me your number. Got his number. Both of them came to my hotel with the motorcycle. And I rode on the back of it.
Right?
You see like my fat ass on the back of my motorcycle. And the two guys that were there they were so tickled by this because I was a little scared. And they're like, this girl is crazy. I'm like, yeah, off my bucket list, riding on the back of a motorcycle in a different country with men I just met like 12 hours ago.
Right?
So,
yeah. I love that so much. I think about this all the time because whenever we go through really hard stuff and have to be brave, like, I don't know, it feels like it has, now that I've done it a bunch of times, I feel like I can handle anything. Like, bring it. Like, I know I will be fine. I have the resilience, I have the adaptability, I have the skill set now to like recover and repair anything.
Oh, 100%. I believe in myself. I believe in us.
Right? So I'm like, what's there not to do? So I love that. I love that you shared that story.
Yeah. I mean, I will say with some stuff, it's just like, okay, I am not going to do it. Like bungee jumping, you know? No, I'm sorry. That's a thin person thing. And so I'm going to let y'all have that. Okay, everything's not for everybody. And people have to understand it's okay to bow out of stuff that's too dangerous. So I'm over 300. I'm not doing no fucking bungee cord nothing because it snaps within people. So I'm not doing that. Okay. So some shit I'm not going to do. And that's one of them.
I love it. I love it. This is like, it's still okay to have boundaries and limits. That's so great. So you wrote your memoir. You got a really clear sign to dig it back out. You got an agent right away. That's amazing. I mean, again, I work with a lot of writers, and the fact you got repped in 48 hours is...
I did. Well, backstory, I had 2 novels before that and got rejected over hundreds of times. So that wasn't my first, exactly. So I wrote 2 dystopian novels, I think 2 or 3, and each time I would get hundreds of rejections for like I've been trying to get published since I was 16. So yeah, it was like almost 8 or 9 years. So it was my 3rd book that got me. So like I always tell people, sometimes your first, second, even sometimes your 3rd book will not get published. This is just how it works. Unless you have some connects or you have something that is amazing or you're a celebrity, they're not really checking for that. And you can have all of the masters and all the coaching and everything. At the end of the day, it really comes down to the market. It comes down to your marketability. And it comes down to the story at that right place and time. But yeah, it's definitely not an overnight success story at all.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Okay. That sounds more true to the experiences that I'm familiar with writers. It's hard. It's hard. What do you love about writing, Leah V? What lights you up about it?
I mean, I'm obsessed. So I have stories on my wrist. I got it when I was in Turkey.
For those of you, that's a tattoo. This is the word stories on Leah V's wrist.
So yes, I have a tattoo on my wrist and it says stories. And I actually happened, it's my first tattoo. And I decided to get this tattoo, stories, after I was sexually assaulted in Turkey. And so I was like, I don't want to leave Turkey with that as like the defining factor. So I ended up getting stories on my wrist. But it's crazy because like I am stories, I am words. And so writing stories has absolutely saved my life in a lot of ways. And so I feel like, yeah, writing for me I wouldn't even be me if I didn't write stories. Like, absolutely not. I would not be sitting here if stories weren't introduced to me or if I didn't write them. Like, is something that I will always do forever and ever, free or not, free or paid. It's something that is within me. So,
yeah, it's so powerful. And Yeah, I hear that it both works for you, like for yourself, like for your own sense of connectedness and well-being for your own self, but also your stories are deeply inspirational to others as well. So you've got, I really hear like both of those happening for you. And I mean, it's why I started the podcast and why I wanted to have people on to tell their stories, because I know there's nothing more powerful.
Oh no, it's something that will never go out of style. People have been telling stories for thousands of years on walls and caves, on stone tablets. And so storytelling, although the medium might change, it will never go out of style. It's not trendy to tell stories and to listen to stories and receive information. So yeah, I will forever have that in my life. And I'm happy to have that skill. So everybody doesn't have skill of oration or storytelling, whether verbal or through pictures or through body movements. A lot of people don't have that. So we are the special ones that are able to harness trauma and joy and the bottom and the top into something that's viable, into something that's entertaining, into something that's powerful.
Yeah. Right. And that can open other people up as well, either through like that, oh my God, thank God I'm not alone, or the, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, those two reactions. So Leah V, what are you working on now? You mentioned you're writing a script. Are you able to tell us anything about it?
Yeah. So right now, the script is a little bit, so we all know the strikes are happening, the WTA and the SAG-AFTRA. So right now we're on pause mode. So I write really fast because I'm an obsessive writer. So if it's there, I'm gonna keep doing it until it's perfected, and this is how I create my children fast. And so so I'm writing a script. I've been wanting to write a script since my memoir came out. So it's been like 6 or 7 years, and I've never had the courage or I had the know-how. I'm not gonna say I didn't have the know-how. I never had the courage to do it. I didn't have the time, air quotes, to do it. Clearly, I had the time. I was just afraid of it being too big. You know what I mean? You know how we look at things and we're like, oh, this is too big for me, stop. And finally, when I got upset at the modeling industry, I was like, I'm going to do something that I wanted to do. Not modeling. I want to write a script. And so it was crazy how so I actually have a mentor who's actually a producer of like real movies and TV shows. Like she has Netflix movies, regular movies. She works with all the celebrities. I met her 7 years ago through my graduate program. Her name's Susan Carsones. And if you Google her name, she's literally a big deal. And so we just kept in touch, but not like, just kept in touch, like whatever, like, okay. And so I told her that I would want to write a script, and if she can help me with a log line, which is like, the log line is like, just basically like, okay, here's a story just to sell it to people. Like, here's what the story's about. And just that little section, nothing crazy, because I didn't want to take her time. She's a big hotshot Hollywood person. And I tried to submit my script to a Sundance festival thing. So when I did it, they emailed me back and were like, oh, your script is incomplete. Like, your form is incomplete. We need a script. We need the first episode. And I'm like, oh, I thought you guys wanted the idea. And they were like, no, we need the full script. So I was like, I don't have a script. I just have an idea. And so I text Susan. I'm like, Susan, sorry for wasting your time. I don't have a script, and I will not be able to enter the Sundance competition because I don't have a script. And I was like, I'm sorry for wasting your time, and goodbye forever. And she's just like, it's okay. And so I was like, well, I'm going to pay someone to kind of like, how you coach people. I want a film coach to help me get my script together. She told me to send the name of the person that I was thinking about. I sent it to her. 5 minutes later, she said, I don't know who this woman is. She has no IMDb credits. I'll be your mentor. And I'm like, I was like, you don't have to do this. You're important. I'm just nobody. She's like, Leah, you've done some amazing things. And I watched you grow over the last 7 years in your career and as a person. And she's like, it will be my honor to help you shape your script.
Oh, you make me cry again.
I know. So me and Susan have been working on a 6-episode script. It's done. And so after Netflix stopped playing games, the white men in the suit stopped playing games, I can shop my script around. But long story short, it's loosely based on my life, but it's times 100. So it's going to be fat sex, of course, just like Leah in random places in New York City. She's a little bit not really emotionally intelligent, but she's in these situations with hot guys and she's trying to figure out like how to navigate as like a kind of a washed up social media influencer in a game where, they have TikTok stars and biracial models who are trying to create double chins for themselves. So it's very much so my life, but just exacerbated times 67,000. It's very fun. It's very gritty. And I love it.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm feeling like it almost sounds like a mashup between Shrill and Michelle Buteau's. What was the show that she just came out with?
Oh, Survival of the Thickest. Yeah, it's definitely giving both of those. It's definitely giving both of those. And it's just,
oh my God, please more fat representation on TV. I hate that I can only name 2 examples, really.
I know. I would love if it got on anything, even Tubi. Like, I would be okay with getting it on Tubi. So hopefully we're able to sell it. And, that would be a dream of mine to get into film and TV. And that's what I'm working towards. I'm in an improv class right now. I've been taking acting classes. I've been doing those skits. So I think my transition from modeling and influencing will be to film and TV. And so I think that's where I can see myself next.
Oh my God. Okay. So here's what we're going to do, Leah V. Everyone listening, I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to imagine watching Leah V's kick-ass show on Netflix, Prime. Who else do we want to call in?
Netflix, Prime, HBO, Cinemax, wherever.
Whoever. Yeah, on like a major network. And everyone take a breath and just like send Leah V those wishes. Put them out into the world.
Yeah. I can see it. I can I believe in manifestation. I believe in like what you put out in the atmosphere comes back to you. It might not be immediately. And as we've seen in my life, like I put things out 2010 and it comes back, in 2020 or 2021. So I believe in setting those seeds, planting those seeds. And sometimes those seeds, it take a long time to grow. And other times they sprout immediately, but I'm a true believer. And if you can see it, you can do it. And I see myself on a red carpet. I see myself winning an award. I see myself starring in, or at least selling a script to a major network. This is what happened with my books. Like I saw myself getting a book deal and writing a book and doing a book tour. And I've done that. So if I can see it, it can definitely happen. Like,
absolutely. And then what's amazing, Leah, is that you get to then be the what everyone else sees if they can't see it for themselves, right? Like that whole representation matters. I would have loved to see fat people doing stuff when I was younger, and maybe it wouldn't have limited myself so much because we can't, that's saying we can't be what we can't see, right? And you're so good at seeing it for yourself and creating it. And then that has the ripple effect of then everyone else gets to see you doing it and suddenly they get to give themselves the permission to. That is such a gift that you're bringing.
Thank you. I'm so excited to do that because like you, I grew up where, we had Roseanne, and then Mimi from Jim Carrey, and then we had, I think Star Jones, and then Queen Latifah. And so, you only had a handful of fat people who were, but usually they were, the funny fat friend or the sidekick, the skinny girl. And, we never got to win. And I just want to see fat bitches winning. That's my goal in life, is see fat bitches winning all across the globe.
Episode title right there, Fat Bitches Winning.
Let me write that down.
Yeah. Get that URL. That's what I always do. I always buy the URL of every idea. Amazing. So Leah V, I want to talk to you about Joy. I always end the conversation with a connection back to joy, even though everything you say seems filled with joy. But like, what is joy for you?
Ooh, I love this. We love joy. Like, I feel like, well, when you first said joy, I thought about just like being Black. Like, just like, because like I always, when I was growing up, I never wanted to be Black. I never wanted to be like nothing to Black. I wanted, right? Because I grew up with like white is better. That's like being white and thin is like the top two goals that you need to have in life as a Black person. And so I don't know, joy to me is just like my melanin. It's just like eating really amazing food, you know, and kind of like savoring each bite, and you're just like in it to win it. Joy is, I think, being fat. No, I know is being fat and unapologetic in your skin. Joy is taking up space without asking permission. Joy is creating stories and sharing stories and receiving stories. And also joy is cats.
Yeah.
Joy is cats. Because I love cats. All of them. I don't care if they're mean to me or not. I think joy is cats. So yes.
That is an amazing list of what joy means for you. Leah V, you are delightful. I'm so thrilled. Thank you. I feel really honored that I got to talk to you and get to know you, and that your story is going to be shared with everyone who's listening. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Before we go, I'd like to read a poem, because poetry can reach our hearts in a different way. Poems can have us feel in a different way. And that's what this podcast is all about. Expanding our hearts, deepening our empathy, and inviting in joy. So each week, you get a new poem. I really related to Leah V sharing the ups and downs of her life, which had me choose this poem by Cameron Awkward Rich called Meditations in an Emergency. I wake up and it breaks my heart. I draw the blinds and the thrill of rain breaks my heart. I go outside. I ride the train, walk among the buildings, men in Monday suits. The flight of doves, the city of tents beneath the underpass, the huddled mass, old women hawking roses, and children, all of them, break my heart. There's a dream I have in which I love the world. I run from end to end like fingers through her hair. There are no borders, only wind. Like you, I was born. Like you, I was raised in the institution of dreaming. Hand on my heart. Hand on my stupid heart. Thank you for joining me today. My hope is that you're feeling a little less alone and a little more seen. So until the next episode, you can find me on Instagram at fatjoy.life, on YouTube at youtube.com/@fatjoy, and on Substack at fatjoy.substack.com. And please do check out the episode notes for how you can connect with my amazing guest and for the links to the poem. All right, lovely. I am sending you off with my best wishes for an abundantly fat joy day, and we'll talk again soon.